How y'all doing? Y'all make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, y'all, this is for entertainment, creative, and community purposes. Now, look at him, y'all. Come on now. Come on in. And let's watch Foolio Murder Trial with Grandma. The opening statement. Yay. Shout out to all my workers. Shout out to all my subscribers. Shout out to all my new members. Shout out to people who watching. And hey, y'all, let's have some fun. Let's go watch Julio try together. Okay? Julio. All right, y'all. Cut the music, DJ. Thank you, baby.
Information on the whereabouts of Charles Jones to the assault team, a phone that to this day has never been found or located. You will hear in this evidence that this defendant did everything that she could in the days after this murder to protect herself and to defend and protect the conspiracy that she was part of. On July 9th of 24, two detectives, homicide detectives, Aaron Campbell and Juan Ramos, the detective in this case for the Tampa Police Department's homicide unit, travel to Jacksonville and they meet with of their interview of her. The first thing they do is read her rights and they ensure that she understands her rights, and she says she does. And then they start interviewing her, and she immediately starts lying to the police. Lying to them.
Just you need to phrase it that you believe the evidence will show. Okay?
And the facts of this case and the evidence, that video will demonstrate to you.
Sure. We'll move strike the word lying. Rephrase.
Yes, Your Honor. The evidence will show that she makes statements to the police that are over and over and over in this interview. She lies about her knowledge of these gangs. lies about her knowledge of who Foolio is. And you're going to see in the evidence that not only does she know who he is, she's known who he is for years. She has animosity towards him. You'll see that in the evidence. But she lies about simple facts that are easily rebutted. Namely, she lies about knowing this guy, Sean Gathright, the individual whose house she left from.
Hold on, y'all. I got to make sure y'all can see it. Hold on. Hold on for a second. Okay, y'all can see it. Okay.
Come to Tampa. The individual who was driving the Chevy Impala that she was sitting in for almost 3.5 hours driving to Tampa on the 22nd. The individual who was best friends with her boyfriend, Isaiah Chance. She showed that photograph. I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. And you will see in the evidence that these lies are nonchalant lies. Her demeanor with these homicide detectives. They show her video. They show her all this video. And in the middle of this litany of lies that's coming out of her mouth, there's a couple little kernels of truth. Namely, she identifies herself in the teaser's video in the parking lot with Isaiah Chance wearing the mask. She identifies herself in the Truth 18 video. She identifies herself, like I said earlier, at the McDonald's in the Chevy Cruze. But she doesn't know who Davion Murphy is. Ask her, well, who is this guy? How did he end up driving this car that you're in? I don't know. Now, on the 26th of June, this is in Jacksonville. This is Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. They pull that 4Runner over, Sean Gathright driving, and they pull him over for a traffic infraction. Get him out of the car, and they end up searching that 4Runner. And inside of the 4Runner, they find several items. A Glock extended magazine. Components for AR-15 rifles, including a brace, magazine holders, ammunition, and a box full of empty .223 and 5.56 shell cases. Now, you're going to hear in the evidence, if you're not already aware of this, that a 5.56 rifle, an AR rifle, can shoot .223 ammunition. They're almost interchangeable. And there's multiple empty casings in this box. They also find these two boxes, each containing 50 rounds of 9mm ammunition. Max Tech, on the top of the cartridge casings, on the head stamp, where the primer is MXT for Max Tech. That is the exact same ammunition as the 9mm shell casings found in the crime scene. All of those shell casings found, and there was 31 of them found outside of the home to suites. They're all Max Tech, all the same ammunition, the same as these is ammunition found in Mr. Gathwright's vehicle. And I'll come back to these shell casings. 223 5.56. Those shell casings are later provided to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, which is a statewide agency here in the state of Florida that maintains crime laboratories throughout the state. We have one right here, a regional laboratory here in Tampa, and there's one in Jacksonville, and they're both involved in this case. And they are submitted to the firearms section, to firearms analysts who analyze those shell casings, comparing them to the shell casings from the October 7th attack on Charles Jones, where he was shot in the leg. And they are fired from the same weapon. The analyst will tell you. They were fired from the same weapon. She will tell you that was shell casings. She examines them microscopically and compares them and looks at markings that are left on the shell casings. Markings that are left by the breech face of the gun, by the first shear, as it's called, when the primer goes off. The primer hits, causing a very teeny explosion that then ignites the gunpowder inside the shell casing, the gunpowder that sits behind the bullet and pushes it out. She examines all of those areas, and she came to the conclusion those were fired from the same gun that was used to attack Charles Jones on October 7th in Jacksonville. We can call him Seth. Sean Gathwright's house. There's the forerunner. The search warrant is executed on that house the days after this murder. And one of the things they find in the sink and water is all this torn up packaging. And when they start looking at the packaging, it's all firearm related. Size package. These are Magpul, which is a firearms manufacturer of components for AR-15 rifles, also manufacturer of magazines. They find basically an arsenal within this house. And what they determined from their search is that Sean Gathwright, was the weapons man on this team. He is the man that provided the AR-15 5.56 caliber rifle and the AR-15 300 blackout rifle in this attack. There are ammo boxes full of 300 blackout and 5.56 ammunition. In this safe, they find multiple weapons to include rifles and brass catchers. That is a brass catcher. It has a wire structure with netting or mesh, and it's designed to be fitted onto a rifle where when the shell is ejecting, like I said earlier, the casings remain in that mesh. And in this mesh, this detached brass catcher, they found two 9mm shell casings that somehow worked their way in there. Those shell casings are Max Tech ammunition, the same kind of ammunition that's found in this defendant's, Mr. Gathwright's. Those shell casings are submitted to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for the firearms section for analysis, and they're analyzed, and they're compared to a shell casing from our crime scene, and the firearms examiner will tell you they were fired from the same weapon, a Glock firearm. That weapon was not recovered in this case. It was never found. They find this rifle, 300 blackout, with the brass catcher attached. And when I say brass, brass, if you don't already know, you'll hear the evidence, is a common term for shell casings. Once they're fired and they come out of the gun, it's called brass. It's just a common way of referring to those. And so the brass catcher is still attached to this firearm. You see on the opposite side. This firearm is also located, this 5.56, and that brass catcher, as I said, had been detached already. There are multiple magazines located, and loaded magazines. Those are loaded with 300 blackout 50 caliber rounds. Ammo boxes. This is back at the sheriff's office in Jacksonville, where this ammunition was inventoried after collection from Mr. Gathwright's house. See all of the different type of ammunition he had. Now, July 27th, that individual sitting in the rain kneeling there at gunpoint is Isaiah Chance. Officers arrived at that residence, his residence, and placed him under arrest for the murder in this case. And there is the defendant being brought out of the same house which he was with Mr. Chance. Davion Murphy. This is after his arrest months later, after being dragged out of an apartment in Jacksonville, Florida. Now, why am I showing you this photograph of the defendant? This is the defendant. This is Miss Andrews. In the interview with the officers at the very beginning of the interview, the officers are asking her about Isaiah Chance's boyfriend. Isaiah Chance's street name, gang name, and social media name is Gutta, or Gutta Man, Gudda, and they're calling him Gutta. And this is the defendant's response. Why are you calling him that? Why are you calling him Gutta? You're idiots. Why are you calling him Gutta? Saying those words. Saying those words.
Okay, again, Mr. Harmon, just your statements as far as pardon me? Okay, well, when the jury began, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, as I told you, what the attorneys say in the opening statement is not the evidence. You're not to consider it as such. They're just telling you what they believe the evidence will be. You will be the ultimate decision makers regarding the evidence and any weight that it carries. Okay? All right, go ahead.
The evidence will show that as those words are leaving her lips, tattooed on her body, underneath her clothes, is the name Gutta. Not only on her chest, but on her neck. Over the next week, the state of Florida, through the evidence that we will present to you, we will drag this conspiracy out of the darkness of the early morning hours. We will drag it into this courtroom for everyone to see, for everyone to know its evil and sinister and murderous nature. It will be exposed, and there will be no masks for this defendant to wear to hide from the state's evidence. The truth in this case, the truth will be clear, crystal clear, at the end of the state's case. There will be no Uber driver to whisk Miss Andrews away. Avoid your verdict when you find her guilty. Guilty of conspiring with these four men. Guilty as a principal. Folks, the state's evidence will let every single one of you know deep in your hearts that that is the truth, that she conspired in this wicked and despicably evil, cold-blooded murder. That she followed this man, watched him, tried to find logic, that she assisted in every way, and then, after the fact, did everything she could to defend this conspiracy. At the end of discussions, the last couple of days, it was clear beyond any doubt that this is guilty of conspiring and committing first-degree murder.
Okay. Let me see what he got to say.
There are a few things that you should keep in mind. On the weekend, Charles Jones was killed. Alicia Andrews, her boyfriend, with only one agenda, to be with her boyfriend. 2, Alicia Andrews is not in a gang. 3, with the exception of her boyfriend, Alicia Andrews did not know any of those men in that group, and none of those men in that group knew Alicia Andrews. As a matter of fact, if there was some conspiracy, Alicia Andrews was not in Andrews did not have any physical evidence on any weapon displayed by the state. You would not find DNA, fingerprints, no physical evidence whatsoever linking Alicia Andrews to this case. 6. Alicia Andrews did not have a motive. In other words, there is no evidence whatsoever to support this case of conspiracy or first-degree murder against Alicia Andrews. I'm sure you're wondering, there's no evidence against Alicia Andrews, then why are we here? We're here because of the perception of the facts of one man, Detective Juan Ramos. But ladies and gentlemen of the jury, perception is not reality. Detective Juan Ramos is the lead detective on this case. Let me tell you a bit about him. Detective Juan Ramos had only worked homicide for about 4 months when he got this case. He became a homicide detective in February. This murder happened in June. His first time as a lead detective on the case, and he lands perhaps one of the biggest homicide cases that the Tampa Police Department has seen in a while. Not by something he did to deserve it, simply luck of the draw. The Tampa Police Department handles 40 to 60 homicides a year. They put their detectives in rotation. So, luck of the draw, Detective Ramos is this case. He shows up to the scene, speaks to a couple of his fellow officers, and begins to talk to witnesses. Gathers some information about evidence and what have you. But his first big break in the case came when he got some intel from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office advised him that perhaps a man named Rashad Murphy and a man named Isaiah Chance might have something to do with this homicide. The second big break came when he ran a bullet through, and I say a bullet, the ATF gathered 30 of the 31 bullets left. He had one bullet. Look at the draw. Ran this one bullet through their system that kind of, and it's a shell casing, not a bullet, a shell casing. It has a fingerprint, once the firing pin strikes the casing. It leaves like a fingerprint, a distinct marking. He gets a hit that alerts him to the fact that there were other fingerprints matching 5 shootings in Jacksonville prior. So now he has the idea that the shooters might have come from Jacksonville. After that, he proceeds to gather intel like information from license plate readers. Then he starts looking at cell phone data records. Then he uses that information to piece some other things together that leads him to a few spots in town. An Airbnb, McDonald's, a strip club called Teasers, and a club called Truth 18. And you saw some of the video footage. Ramos first gets this Airbnb video set Andrews at the front door and surmises that because he sees no one else go in, Alicia Andrews must have let them in the back door. But perception's not reality. He sees Alicia Andrews at the McDonald's surmises that she must have had the mask on to cover her face at Teasers because she didn't have a mask on at McDonald's. But perception is not reality. Again, he sees Alicia Andrews with her boyfriend at Club Truth 18 walking with the mask on, surmising once again because she didn't have a mask on at McDonald's, but did have a mask on as she walked towards the club. She attempted to conceal her identity with that mask at Truth 18. Gentlemen, perception is not reality. It's just some human decision. Reality, however, is a movie. And we're going to talk about Alicia's reality in just a moment when I tell you what really happened. But with all of this intelligence, all of this assumption, all of this surmise, Detective Juan Ramos goes and gets Alicia Andrews and brings her into an interrogation room. And he begins to present to her what he calls evidence and tell her what his perception of the evidence is, as if it is reality. But it's simply not. What really happened in this case is Alicia Andrews was on a weekend trip with her boyfriend. But before we talk about the trip, let me tell you a little bit about Alicia. Alicia, high school graduate, did really well in school, well enough to apply to college and get accepted at Bethune-Cookman University.
Yes, come on up. You may proceed.
Thank you, Anna. Alicia's reality. High school graduate, applied to and was accepted to Bethune-Cookman University, right there in Daytona, not too far from home. But chose not to go to stay close to home and instead went to tech school, become an esthetician. Does hair, not hair, but eyelashes, makeup, nails, skincare, that kind of thing. She was a substitute teacher whom parents trusted with their children, even children who had some special needs and disabilities. This was Alicia. While in school, Alicia Andrews. The state reminded me that I have to use her first name, last name.
Yeah, I must sustain the objection. So that's the general ruling board. Last name's on for everything. All right, thank you, Mr. Malcolm.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Alicia Andrews, while in school, befriended sister of Isaiah Chance. They ran the same school, and through that process, Isaiah Chance became familiar with her, and she with him. And he reached out to her via direct message, and they developed a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. And I mean, Isaiah Chance, tall, slender, handsome fella, captivating, charismatic. Alicia liked him. He liked her. So she thought. She would learn through their tumultuous, on-again, off-again relationship that perception is not always reality. And Isaiah Chance just really wasn't the guy she thought he was. You heard about tattoos, sure. Young lady, time moves on, Alicia Andrews learns that not only is Isaiah Chance more than not nice, sometimes he can be threatening, controlling. Sometimes she'd have to suffer serious consequences if she upset him. She learned that in the most serious ways. So, fast forward to 2023, Alicia Andrews and Isaiah Chance born again, off again, born again, off again. Now, could be that Alicia's pregnant. This is during that born again, off again time period. They decide to take this trip. There's a big fight, a lot of fuss right before. There's this makeup time. Isaiah says, hey, let's go to Atlanta. She don't want to go that far away from home. Then he says, let's go to Tampa.
Okay, what's the legal basis for the objection? Come on up.
It is. Isaiah doesn't follow this young lady on Instagram. I'm not sure if you know how Instagram works with direct messages, but when you DM somebody, if you're not a follower, direct message someone, if you're not a follower, the request, kind of waiting for the person to approve the message you intend to send. So Isaiah Chance doesn't follow this woman who does half offs for Airbnbs and asks Miss Andrews to reach out to the woman whom Miss Andrews does follow and ask her to see if she can hook up an Airbnb for the weekend. Miss Andrews does. It's on a Instagram. It says, hey, half offs, ask for availability. Says how many rooms? Says two. Now, there's some assumption on Mr. or Detective Ramos' side that because Alicia Andrews asked for two rooms for this romantic getaway, as he claimed, was some indication that she intended for this other group of guys to come to the Airbnb with her. In reality, Miss Andrews and Isaiah Chance were kind of on the outs. Didn't know they were going to be on the in or the outs. So they got two rooms, bigger, more comfortable, some space for this trip that was to be a trip of reckoning and maybe reconciliation. Ultimately, though, Alicia Andrews and the friend or follower does not book the Airbnb. Somebody else does. Alicia Andrews did not know that somebody else books the Airbnb. then Chance goes and then picks up Miss Andrews, brings her back to where they packed the bags, and then they down to Tampa. Miss Andrews believes that they're about to hit the road, come straight from Jacksonville to Tampa, but they make a stop at this gas station. As Alicia Andrews sees her boyfriend get out and dab up some people and what have you, and the next thing you know, they're on the road again. Now, mind you, Sean Gates writes in the driver's seat. Isaiah Chance is in the front passenger seat, and Alicia Andrews is in the back seat. On her phone, TikToking, FaceTiming, or whatever it is they do on a road trip. Once arriving in Tampa into the Airbnb, just her, Isaiah Chance, Sean Gabriel. While the two men in front get out of the car, Miss Andrews is in the back still on her phone. The gentlemen get out of the car, go inside the Airbnb. Miss Andrews then later gets out of the car a few minutes after, goes to the front door. You saw it in the video. Knocks on the door and waits for someone to let her in. Now, when Detective Juan Ramos sees the video of Miss Andrews at the door, he perceives that Miss Andrews must have been the one who let the people who let her in the Airbnb because they don't see anybody else go in before her. Not the case. And the evidence will show you that. Alicia Andrews to the Airbnb for the first time ever, let in by someone who was already in the Airbnb. She did not walk in the Airbnb and unlock a back door to let people come in to avoid being captured by the ring camera. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. Once inside the Airbnb, Miss Andrews goes upstairs, takes the laundry off the bed, the linen off the bed, puts it in the washing machine downstairs, and goes back upstairs. And so she's washing the bed linen and upstairs on her TikTok, on the phone, TikToking or whatever it is, talking to her sister via text message and talking to Mr. Chance's mother about how to operate the washing machine. And so she's upstairs the entire time before they leave to go to McDonald's. Alicia Andrews does not know who's coming in and out downstairs, doesn't know that there's a Rashad Murphy coming by, that Davion Murphy is showing up. No clue. When it's time to go to McDonald's, though, she finds out. When it's time to go to McDonald's, she comes downstairs, and Mr. Chance gives her the keys and says, "Hey, go get in the car." And of course she does. She goes and gets in the passenger seat of the silver Cruise that you saw in the video, expecting that Mr. Chance would join her in the driver's seat and take her to get cool. However, that's not what happens. Mr. Davion Murphy, big guy, listed at about 5'9", 215 pounds, burly looking fella, a little rough, comes outside and makes Mr. Chance get in the back seat, and he hops in the front seat, and he drives the Cruise to the McDonald's. And you see Davion Murphy in the driver's seat, Alicia Andrews in the passenger seat, and Isaiah Chance is in the back. Now, in the interrogation room, Detective Ramos tells Alicia Andrews that she must not Andrews thought that it was just going to be her and her boyfriend. No reason to wear the health mask, the medical mask. Then she didn't know that Davion Murphy was going to bum rush the ride and take control of the driver's seat, let alone did she expect Isaiah Chance to let him do so. So she's caught without a mask unexpectedly. Davion's in the video, you see him smoking and puffing, and Alicia wants to say something, but she can't. Because she's afraid to say something to this guy who just bogarted the cruise, made her man get in the back seat, and took over. She won't say anything. Not because she was trying to hide herself. She didn't say anything because she was scared. Not because she wanted the guy to smoke in her face, because she was scared. They get back to the Airbnb, and a few hours later, they head out again. Go to Club Teachers. Now they're in the cruise again, and Isaiah Chance is driving. Now the state asserts that because Isaiah Chance is driving and Alicia Andrews is right next to him while Isaiah Chance is on her phone, Alicia must have heard everything Isaiah said. They got that from Juan Ramos. But that's a bad assumption because there's
Again, ladies and gentlemen, during this are just the opening statements. The attorneys are telling you what they believe, the evidence. That's all that it is. Their belief. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Malcolm.
thank you, Your Honor. That's a bad assumption because there's no way of knowing. Although the cell phone data shows that that line was open and there was communication between the two phones, there's no way of knowing whether Isaiah Chance was the talker or the listener. And even if Isaiah Chance was the talker, there's no way to know whether he was using explicit language that Alicia Andrews could understand. So, when in the interrogation room, Detective Ramos asks Alicia Andrews what Isaiah Chance was saying, and she says, I don't know. It was the truth. She didn't know. And there's no evidence whatsoever to the contrary. When they get to the club,
I think she know.
they get out. Detective Ramos assumes that Alicia Andrews allows Isaiah Chance to use her phone. That's not the case. When Isaiah Chance says, give me the phone, she knows it's in her best interest to give him, and so she does. Isaiah Chance uses Miss Andrews' phone all the time, whenever he wants. Nothing new, nothing strange whatsoever to Miss Andrews. Give me your phone, here's the phone. So, he asks for the code to unlock the phone, and Miss Andrews gives him the code to unlock the phone. Nothing new, nothing strange, nothing suspicious about this at all. And you see the walking, and conspicuously you'll note that though there's an assertion that all the defendants conspired together, coordinated together, one stands out. everybody's coordinated, dressed in black, covered from head to toe. Isaiah Chance, Rashad Murphy, Davion Murphy, Sean Hayden. All of them except Alicia. She wasn't in the loop. Then they walk up to the club. You see them go out of camera, then go back to the car, and they leave. Now the state says that everywhere they went, they were following each other. As a matter of fact, the state even said Alicia was driving. Said that twice. But Mr. Andrews doesn't even have a driver's license. Doesn't even know how to drive. Never drove. Was never in control of the situation. She was a passenger in a car. Her boyfriend drove. In her mind, get some food, and to go to a few clubs and take. She had one agenda: to be with her boyfriend. No mission to do anything to Mr. Charles Jones. Be with the boyfriend. But the state says, and Detective Ramos said it too, that Alicia Andrews, if she wasn't a part of the conspiracy, should have stayed in the car. Could have stayed in the car. But at the same time, the state tells you that Mr. Jones died in the car, caged. He was a scene duck in a car. So of course, when Isaiah Chance gets out of the car in the middle of the night, Alicia Andrews knows better than to just stay in the car. She came with her boyfriend, intends to be with her boyfriend, gets out with her boyfriend, and walks to the club with her boyfriend. She didn't stay in the car at the sitting duck, because bad things can happen to you when you sit in the car in the parking lot. That's it. That's all. No evidence whatsoever suggesting that Alicia Andrews was on some surveillance mission. As a matter of fact, there's no indication that Isaiah Chance needed her help to survey anything. When walking, you'll see Alicia Andrews is farthest away from the club. Both clubs. No indication whatsoever that Alicia Andrews was on some kind of surveillance team, surveillance mission. She wasn't even dressed like the rest of the alleged conspirators. Alicia Andrews tells Detective Ramos this, but says, "No, what are you doing there? You must be stalking. You must be surveying." And she tells him that that's just not the case. I'm with my boyfriend. She says it over and over again. I'm just with my boyfriend. As a matter of fact, in that interrogation room, every time Detective Ramos asks her questions about herself, she's forthcoming and truthful. He tells her she has the right to remain silent. She doesn't exercise that right. She tells him exactly what he wants to know when he asks her questions about her. For example, in the interview, Detective Ramos asks, "Is that you in the car?" Without hesitation. She says, "Yeah, that's me." Another truthful statement. "Do you know the guy who drove you to McDonald's?" No. She doesn't know him. He just showed up at the Airbnb that night. "You guys went to some clubs?" "Yeah." "Couldn't get in though." The reason why they didn't go in is because they didn't like the price. They asked the bouncer how much, didn't like the price, didn't go in. "Do you remember the clubs that you went to?" "Not really." "Is that you and Say?" As they walk to the parking lot. Isaiah, they call him Say. "Is that you and Say?" "Yeah." "Is he using your phone?" "Yeah." "Who was he talking to on the phone?" "I don't know." "At the McDonald's, was Isaiah in the backseat?" "Yeah." almost doesn't like the truth. He gets upset, starts yelling at Alicia, starts cussing at Alicia, starts telling Alicia that she's going to die in jail, starts telling Alicia that her parents want to die if she'll never get to see them, telling Alicia Andrews that she'll never be able to see her baby again, all because his perception doesn't fit her reality, and he won't let her reality change his perception. But the reality is Alicia Andrews had one agenda, and this group had an entirely different agenda. You'll see. You'll see that there was no instance in time where Alicia Andrews did anything to contribute to this conspiracy. As the state spoke to you, you spoke quite a while. Never once did they say that Alicia Andrews did anything like touch a gun, touch an extended clip, touch a brass catcher. None of that. You won't find any physical evidence, no DNA, no fingerprints. You think that being a part of this big conspiracy, at least one time, ex-boyfriend or somebody in the group said, hey, hold this gun. Hey, give me that magazine. Hey, what about the brass catcher? Not one time. No physical evidence, no DNA supporting any assertion that Alicia Andrews had anything to do with this conspiracy. It's almost as if Alicia Andrews was not necessary for the trip. Plain as day. It's true. These guys did not need Alicia Andrews to commit murder. No. Alicia Andrews did not know these guys intended to commit murder. No. No evidence whatsoever. Except for Alicia Andrews came to Tampa to be with her boyfriend. The group, all of them in the group, making the bones go ghost. Except Alicia Andrews. All of them wore all black attire. Not Alicia Andrews. If the state's right, all of them went in the back door of the Airbnb. Not Alicia Andrews. All of them brought guns to the park.
All of them.
Except Alicia Andrews.
She with them too.
It was Alicia Andrews the entire time who had one agenda and one alone. That to be with her boyfriend, never in a group of guys who conspired to kill Charles Jones if the state is right. I want you to stay focused throughout this trial. While the state talked a lot about Rashad Murphy, Davion Murphy, Isaiah Chance, Seth Gaithright, or Sean Gaithright, whichever one. But the styling of this case is the state of Florida versus Alicia Andrews. Stay focused. And you will see, ladies and gentlemen, that there's not one single shred of evidence that supports the state's claims. You look for it. You'll look for it. You'll look to see the action that Alicia took to further this conspiracy. You'll hear the evidence in this case and you'll look for it. You'll look to see evidence that Alicia Andrews knew something about this conspiracy.
She did.
To kill Charles Jones. But you won't see it.
Right.
What you will learn is that Alicia has absolute knowledge that these four boys conspired to kill Charles Jones. And the reason she had no knowledge is because she was not in that group. She was never in the group. Because she was never in the group. Despite all of the evidence, all of the technology, cell phone records, license plate readers, DNA catchers, fingerprints, agencies like JSO, Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, Gwinnett County Police, Tampa Police Department, ATF, all of these agencies, all of this technology, none of it will render one shred of evidence to prove that case. It's kind of like what Isaac Asimov said when he said that the saddest aspect of life right now is that science gathers knowledge faster than society gathers wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, listen to the evidence in this case. Either wisdom, right or wrong, and render the only verdict that the facts and the law in this case supports. That Alicia Andrews, not only beyond a reasonable doubt, is not guilty. Alicia Andrews is innocent.
What?
Alicia Andrews is innocent. Alicia Andrews is innocent. And render a verdict of not guilty. Thank you.
Huh. All right, y'all. That was it. I'll take this down because that don't have nothing to do with it. I hope y'all enjoy. I appreciate those who watched the trial with Grandma. Thank you so much. I really do believe that she should be charged. Also, because she was with them. I really do. I believe she's not innocent. She was with them dudes. She was with them. She was with them. She's not innocent. What do y'all think? That's her boyfriend. That's not our boyfriend. It's her boyfriend. Sometimes you have to be careful who you meet. You have to make the right decisions. You have to be responsible. It's her man. It's not our man. She want a bad boy. She got a bad boy. Y'all, hope y'all enjoyed that opening statement. You heard from the defense attorney, and you heard from prosecutors. She played her role, allegedly, like the lookout person. She got out of that car. Y'all like, share, and subscribe. I'm out.